issues around agriculture. I mean, farmers, rice farmers are set to abandon cultivation due to losses, which many have said, some farmers have said it's understandable. Some are telling them to be patient. We'll look to see whether patience is indeed the answer. Let's talk to somebody who should know, the former president of AFAN and the president of Nigeria Agribusiness Group, architect Kabir Ibrahim. Glad to have you on Business Daily.
Well, I'm happy to be here too, even though I came late.
Yes.
I'm sorry for...
Better late than never.
Yeah, better late.
Absolutely. But let's look at what does this mean for the future of crop farming, especially in Nigeria. Farmers are beginning to abandon crop farming because of losses.
Well, I sympathize with the farmers, but I also look at the consumers as well, because yes, the rice people are crying, and is justified. You know, the window that was opened for importation of husked rice, we treated it with a lot of lethargy, you know, the business community. We didn't do it at the time that it was opened, July 2024, early enough for the commodities to come and then cushion the effect of that inflation. Rather, some measures had to be taken, and what was imported came in a bit late, and it lingered on to meet the harvests. And then the prices are not going, and the millers who are supposed to buy the paddy from the farmers are not readily buying because they are not sure that they would sell and break even. So it's a catch-22. The millers are crying that their mills are closed. The farmers are crying that they did not sell their paddy at an optimum or premium price. So this kind of thing always happens. It happens to all crops. If a farmer cannot break even, of course he would not go to the farm again, and we feared that this would happen. And you remember that even on this show I had said it, and I had written a number of things on this, and I cautioned that we might face problems towards even at the end of this quarter, and then towards the end of the year. So this is coming, but we cannot abandon the farms, because the smallholder farmers are still the engine room of food sufficiency and food security in Nigeria. And our population is such that we cannot afford to import everything that we need. Government does not have that money to do it. So we have to plead with them to go back and then also intervene in the inputs, because once the inputs are still very high, and the farmers cannot break even at all. And so everybody is being encouraged to do agriculture as a business, not just subsistence.
Absolutely.
So you need to sell what is superfluous to what you need to eat, and then also to buy other things that you are not producing. So the farmers are justifiably complaining. And then we, the private sector and the government, will have to do something to cushion the effect of this and to prevent them from abandoning their farms, because that will that portends a lot of trouble to Nigerians.
Indeed, but do you blame these decisions of farmers on government policies? Because over the years, we talk about inputs now, many farmers don't get it when they need it. All right, government, we've seen government intervention, state of emergency declared, input, giving input to farmers. Most times they get this input way after the farming season.
The mistake people are making, you know, I've been in this business for a long time. The government does not have sufficient to give all the farmers in Nigeria. Even whereupon government intervenes, it selects only a few people and give, but what should happen is that the sub-national governments and the national government should come together and intervene. Because if you are only talking of the intervention of federal government, it doesn't meet any number of people, because sometimes these interventions come for 250,000 persons. When you have the farmers are in millions. In every crop, there are millions. So whereupon the state and local governments do not intervene sufficiently and in unison with the federal government, there will always be this dearth of. And then the timely delivery of the inputs is also important, because when you give a farmer support, when they probably depend on rain-fed agriculture, and then the rains are out, what will they do with it? And they have no money, so they can't keep that input. Rather, they will go to the market and sell it. Now, what should happen is that since the president declared a state of emergency on food security, and then there is some talk in some areas that they are crashing the cost or the prices of food, they should also crash the prices of inputs. Fertilizers should be selling like Coca-Cola. We had this before. You know, we had the PFI where 1010 fertilizers were sold at 5,500. And they were sold like Coca-Cola. What you would buy 5,500 in Lagos is what you would buy in Maiduguri. That is how this thing should work. So there should be a reasonable price for all of the inputs, and they should be available to the farmers at all times. Not that, you know, you predicate it on seasons, on times and all that.
Okay. How much of disruption do you think government getting involved in food importation has caused our local farmers? Because what we planned initially, especially from the last government, was that Nigeria should produce what we eat as the policy, kind of policy. But now we've abandoned that and we're going into importation. And this is having more like a strong impact on our farmers.
Not that I am pro-importation, but the importation that happened officially, the one that we are aware of, was for the period July to December of 2024. That window is supposed to be closed. If anybody has brought anything outside that period, they smuggled it. And this is not government. You know, the institutions saddled with making sure that the smuggling doesn't happen.
But there's no pronouncement from governments whatsoever that the window of importation has closed.
No, there was. Maybe you are not aware. Because from agribusiness and from agriculture as a whole, I know that that window was for that.
I understand.
No, listen to me. What happened was, in the first instance, when it was announced, people like me in agribusiness should have taken the opportunity to import. But we were lethargic. We thought that keeping it and milling it and processing it, people had no money. People like you had no money to buy. So the millers did not buy. And the entrepreneurs did not buy. Only one from the north, for instance, Bua, imported some, and when he took it to Kano, he couldn't sell. Later on, some people resorted to even bring in milled rice. And then the government, because it had no choice, the inflation was going to 44%, to remember. Some people were commissioned to supply the quantities that were mentioned even that time. Because these quantities were even fixed at 500,000 metric tons for a given number of commodities. But these things are still lying there. People have not bought them. People like you have no money. We have no money to buy. And that is why you have this problem. The question here is, the purchasing power of the typical Nigerian has to be propped up for us to be able to buy from. We are in this business, we have been doing it. Things are terrible. Even today, you know, I thought I would come in 30 minutes, but I was selling my fish. Fish that I grew, most of it was more than 1.1 kg. But I sold 1 kg at 2,500 as against 3,500 that I sold previously. But I need the space, I need to put more because I will not run away. Business is like this, you keep your books. There is profit and loss. So I have lost, but it doesn't mean that I will not. Because if I don't do it, I will not get any source of income. But the rice farmer will not be able to do it, because if he doesn't break even and he's a smallholder farmer, he will not have money from anywhere else to do it. That's why people are crying, and they are justified for it. But government had to open that window of importation at that time. If you remember, inflation got up to 40%.
Food inflation.
Food inflation, yes. And even now, even at 14% now, you are complaining. In other countries, when they have 3%, they cry. So even 14% is not good, if you look at it. But then the production, since it's basically smallholder farmers and small small processors, the complaints have to be plenty, because there are so many of us there, and then nobody produces all that they need. They have to sell what they produce to buy what they need. And if they cannot break even, they will just buy what they need, they eat,
right.
and then they die.
All right, Alhaji, before we go, what would you say to a farmer in Damaturu or Potiskum, for example, who spent 800,000 naira to cultivate a land, buying fertilizers, inputs, and all of that, and at the end of the day, he took his product to the market and was able to just sell at less than 400,000?
That's why he will not go. That's why I sympathize with them. If you don't break even, it means that you eat your investment. And you eat to finish, and then you will have nothing.
How will you convince such a person to go back to the same rice farming?
It is very difficult, and that's why I said they are justified.
Now, do you think government should give them some incentive?
Government should now intervene. You see,
or
when you
become an off-taker, perhaps.
Listen, when you, yes. In fact, the advice I gave, you know, there is what is called the guaranteed minimum price that had been in place from 2008, and I was a member when I was president of Poultry Association. I said government should resuscitate it. I gave it in writing. When we resuscitate it, government will be the buyer of last resort. So instead of this farmer going to the market to sell his 100 kg of corn at 25,000, government should be buying probably, let's say, at 40,000, so that government will keep. That's why we have these silos. Our capacity was 1.3 million metric tons, so that we keep it, and then the farmers will be able to produce. And that's what happens in the United States. In fact, in the United States, what they used to do with wheat was they used to dump wheat, excess wheat, in the ocean. Because you need to buy from the farmers for the farmers to continue to produce. So in Nigeria, we must institute that kind of thing. Government must be the buyer of last resort.
All right. Thank you so much, Alhaji. Time is not our friend. There's quite a whole lot to talk about on this topic. We hope maybe we'll bring you again to discuss this topic. Thank you so much, Architect Kabir Ibrahim, President, Nigeria Agribusiness Group, former President of All Farmers Association of Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. With that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back here again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.
This program is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.